Back like we never left. Brother, thank you for making the drive over here, man. I know that it's not an easy drive from Cape, so I really do appreciate it. Your last fight was over at Synergy in Kansas City, correct?
Yeah.
And it was a very good showing for you, as I saw, up until the groin shot that then resulted in your opponent no longer being able to continue. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't a DQ or anything. I think it was ruled a no contest.
No
right?
contest, yeah.
Can you walk me through the emotions of getting ready for the fight, making the weigh-ins, getting in there and starting to perform, and then for a fight to end like that? Because I've never had that. I've never had any no contest. I can only imagine how frustrating that is.
Okay, so leading up to the fight, I was very, very calm, relaxed, zen, literally the whole fight camp, fight week, and you know how it is. No matter how many fights you have, there's a small amount of nervousness, and the more you fight, the less there is, and it comes more so in waves. Out of nowhere, like just how you get a dopamine hit out of nowhere. Like you think about something you're gonna do later on in the day, you're like, oh man, I can't wait. Well, it kind of happens the same way with the nervousness of fighting. You're not just sitting around like biting your nails when you're a beast like me, but out of nowhere you kind of get this little nervous energy, like oh shit, I'm fighting, and a lot of that actually comes because you got to cut weight also. Like a lot of times I get nervous more so about the weight cut and not the fight.
Is it rough? Is it rough for you to make 45?
It's not. It's not rough. It's just I just like to eat. So that's the only hard part. But anyway, so coming into this fight week, weigh-in day, I mean, when I say no nerves, no nothing, I felt nothing. Like I was so confident, so relaxed. This is my fourth fight this year. So, and that's why I like to stay active. When I'm active and I got my ball rolling, bro, fight day is nothing to me. It's like a fucking walk in the park. So even on fight day, when I was warming up, I looked at my teammate Gavlin and my instructor and I said, this is weird, man. I don't have any nerves. I don't even feel like I'm fighting. And, that can kind of freak you out because you feel like maybe I should have a little bit of nervousness or whatever, but
Keeps you
I
on
was
edge.
like, damn, this is why I train and why I compete, because when it's time to fight, I don't want to feel any different than I'm feeling right now sitting here talking to you. A fight should be nothing to me. So, I mean, leading up to the fight, I felt phenomenal. I felt great. And even in the back, after I got done warming up and I walked out and I'm standing on this side of the stage, he's on the other side, and I'm looking over at him, I'm like, yeah, he ain't ready for this. He's feeling it. He's feeling my energy. He knows this is about to be a fucking tough fight. And then, the fight starts. Now, my strategy for this fight was to take my time. If you look at my last fight before this one, my strategy was to go out there and destroy him, crush him, like quick. Don't take no time. He's a bum. Just go out there and crush him. If he makes it out the first round, you suck. That's what I told myself. And so I went out there and I destroyed him in the first round, cut his head wide open. And I mean, there was blood everywhere, which I very much enjoyed. The feeling of his blood on me was just phenomenal. So, but anyways, this fight, my plan was to take my time, because even though this is my third professional fight, my first two professional fights were kickboxing. It's 3-minute rounds. This was 5. I got 15 minutes to finish this guy. So I wanted to take my time, and I wanted to feel the 5-minute rounds too. Like, you can train all you want, but until you actually fight those 5-minute rounds, how do you actually know? Because training is completely different than fighting in front of a crowd, all this hype. You got this referee all in your way and just all this stuff. So I wanted to go more than one round. My plan was to finish in the second round or the third round, but not to let him make it out, not to take it to the judges. I hate that. I feel like I lost when that happens, unless I just beat the crap out of him and he's just really tough. So round 1 was going perfectly. I'm filling him out. I was expecting him to do a little bit more, because also I'm like Floyd Mayweather. I like to get a read on my opponents. I'm not going to come out and just show you my hand. I want to see your hand. Show me what you got. And then I know, okay, he's got this, he's got that. Because even though I study my opponents, they can always approach this fight differently. So I come in there and I get my reads first before I start the attack. So I was getting my reads and I threw a kick. He kind of caught it. I cracked him with a punch. He grabbed a hold of me. I made my way to the fence, and then I elbowed him to the head a couple times, dropped him. I was on top. He tried to throw up an arm bar. Big mistake. Picked him up and slammed him. And then we ended up he was going for some leg locks. Again, taking my time. I didn't want to just go crazy and like throw a bunch of punches and he be blocking them and they're not really landing. But the referee said I wanted a clean knockout, clean finish. I wanted to have him sleep. So I was taking my time, being patient. And then we scramble back up to the feet. He grabs a hold of me again, tries to take me down. I don't know why, because it ain't going to work. And then what do? Push his head down, knee to the head, drop him again. And then I get on top of him, take his back. The bell rings. I'm mad because I'm like, boy, you just got saved. And that's why I wanted to see what the 5 minutes felt like. Dude, after that 5 minutes, bro, I did not need a break at all. Yeah. I was ready to go. When I went and sat on my stool, I was thinking to myself, I'm in fucking phenomenal shape. And I looked across the cage at him. I was like, oh, he's beat mentally, physically. He's done. I'm finishing this round 2. Then we come out and I start throwing some kicks. I land a hard inside leg kick. And I throw it again, and he kind of changed. He kind of dropped levels and went for an overhand. So caught his cup, and then he fell on the ground crying. I knew right then and there he ain't fighting. He ain't fighting. Guys don't fall on the ground from a nut shot and cry like that unless they want to get out of the cage.
Well, there have been instances in previous history where like a nut shot like that has resulted in like actual trauma to the area. My question for you is post this fight, because he was unable to continue that fight because of that shot. Post the fight, was there like any sort of medical treatment? Did he go to the hospital? Was he just walking around after the fight?
I don't know. All I know is
because it can't happen, right? Surely we understand that.
All right, so when I fought in February, the first like 10 seconds of the first round, y'all can look this up, well documented on my YouTube channel. The first like 10 to 20 seconds of the first round, I took a hard kick to the nuts, all right? I took a 60-second break, and look, it hurt. That was the hardest I've ever been kicked down there, and I wear a titanium cup, and it hurt. But the thing is this, I don't care if I look down and see blood running from my shorts. I'm not going to stop fighting. I'm a fighter. I'm not going to stop fighting. Like,
I can understand that. I guess my caveat is, you know, there's a lot of assumptions to be made about him not being able to continue the fight. And I don't know him. I don't know his camp. I don't know whether or not he went to the hospital afterwards. Like, what if like maybe there's circumstances past this that we're not aware of. That's why I want to be very careful when I say certain things about this, because I don't know. Just wanted to take a second to pause the action and just tell you guys, thank you so much for consuming our content. Easy Talk is a passion project. This podcast is just a bunch of like-minded people coming together to produce some cool stuff and talk to some cool people. One of the things I would very much appreciate is if you could possibly like the video or subscribe to the channel, just because it helps us in the algorithm and ultimately to grow, to get more exposure to everybody, including ourselves, and ultimately just make a better product. Take a second, I'd greatly appreciate it, and on with the show. Now, to the point, I've also been kicked in the nuts plenty of times in fights. And I also had that same mentality of like,
okay,
I don't care.
Well, look, let me. All right,
but I was also winning.
You didn't get all the story yet either. So let me tell you something else that happened. Okay. Once everything was said, and after the 5 minutes was up that he got, and the ref was like, "Are you ready to fight?" And he's like, they called it off. Look, I was pissed, right? Even his corner are telling him like, "Come on, bro, you got this." Like, bro, come on, you got this. He did not want to fight. So look, when everyone comes in the cage, and they stood there, the ref held our hands, said, "This is no contest," blah, blah. I got up in his face and I was like, "You're fine now, aren't you? You're fine now, aren't you?" And he looked at me. You know how when you catch a little kid doing something and they're caught red-handed, how they have that stupid look on their face like, "Damn, you got me." That's exactly how he looked at me. He knew that I knew that you didn't want to continue to fight.
Did you offer perhaps a rematch, or was a rematch offered to you? I know it's still
rematch. Look, first of all, he missed weight.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He already missed weight, unprofessional. That's why I told him, I said, I need 30% of your purse.
How much did he miss by, out of curiosity?
Like a pound and 3 ounces? Dude,
that's a lot.
I was 2 pounds under.
Yeah. Well,
I made sure my scale was weighing a little bit heavy. That's why.
Okay. So
apparently,
by miscalculation, you were 2 pounds under. I was like, God damn, brother, like that's a lot.
I wasn't trying to be 2 pounds under, but I was like half a pound under on my scale. But you
you wanted to make sure that you were
when
right.
The tiles are off in them little hotel rooms, the scale's off. But anyways, I made sure I made weight. He didn't even make weight. And then when he got on the scale, he didn't try to go back outside and cut that extra pound and a half or whatever. He's just like, I just can't make weight. Okay, well, then guess what? Pay me. Okay, so I already missed weight. What does that tell me? He ain't taking this fight seriously. And then he pulls that BS. Like, so why would I even give him a rematch?
I mean, if it was a dominant performance and it didn't necessarily end in a circumstance in which you would have liked.
No, I don't even want to fight people like him.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Do you not want to give him a rematch because you feel like he is undeserving?
Undeserving.
Okay, and then
undeserving.
Okay, so he shouldn't get that rematch. He
should
done anything
not
to deserve it.
Look, when I dropped him with those elbows in the first round, they were right here in the legal area. And I make sure that I don't hit people in the back of the head. Like, if you really go back and study my fights, when I ground and pound, when I'm striking people, I do not just go crazy and throw a bunch of punches. I'm very precise with my shots because I don't want to get DQ'd and I don't want to beat you and you be able to say, oh, you hit me to the back of the head. So my shots were very precise. Those elbows were right where they needed to be. The referee was standing right there. So, and you can see in the video when I drop him and he hits the ground, he looks up at the ref and he's like, back of the head. And the ref is just like, no, it's not. And then he tries to armbar, I pick him up and slam him. The ref told me after the fight, he said, yeah, when you were landing those elbows, he was looking for a way out. He was telling me back of the head. They were not the back of the head. They were not. So, you know.
Did you have any correspondence with him? I know that you said that you got in, like, while they were doing the no contest and holding your hands, you got in his face and you were like, you're fine now, right? But has there been any conversations between you, his camp, the promotion?
After
when the dust has settled.
When the dust settled and we went downstairs and we're in the changing room, I went up to him, shook his hand, no hard feelings. Look, it's a fight. Him personally, I don't know this guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's probably a good guy, probably another, humble martial artist. But when it comes to the fight game, like all that friendly stuff, all that, look, none of that. You're not my friend, you're not my buddy, you're not my pal. You done pissed me off and you robbed me of my win because you was too scared to keep fighting, acting like it. He kept saying, I can't feel my groin, I can't feel my groin. What do you mean? I can't feel mine either. This isn't sex. This is a fight. We're fighting. like the things he was saying made no sense. And then he was saying, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. What do you can't breathe?
Well, I mean, surely you've been hit low. And
I have, but the thing
everything
is this,
comes up.
I have never been hit in the groin and stopped fighting. Even in training, I just keep going.
Yeah.
But look, that's my side. Okay. Maybe it was
the only grace I'm trying to give is because whenever it's anecdotal like that, we truly don't know.
It just pisses me off because now this became the focal point of my pro debut, my pro MMA debut, and the focal point was supposed to be me knocking this dude out. Don't forget, I dropped him twice in the first round.
So he was not going to rob you of your glory.
He robbed my glory. He was on his way to the hospital. So he got lucky that my kick skimmed his cup. He got lucky. So, but that's what happened, and it's whatever. I beat him. I dropped him twice in the first round, and the thing is this, if this had been 2 minutes later, it would have went to the scorecards.
Yeah, because if you go past halfway point in a fight, for those of you that don't know, within MMA, the way the rules work is if you go within 2 minutes and 51 seconds of the second round, if for any reason a fight can no longer make the distance because of a groin shot per se,
right,
what it then goes to is the judges' scorecards because they technically have enough. Like you got past the halfway point of a fight,
right,
so then you go to the judges' scorecards and you say, okay, what was round 1 and 2? And then they can actually declare a winner on that. So because you didn't necessarily meet that threshold, because he could not continue, it was ruled a no contest. But had it been 2 minutes and 51 seconds, the way you described the fight, the way I watched the fight, it would have been very well, could have been the case that you would have still been declared the winner through decision, right? Would you have wanted to win that way, though? That's my question for you.
it's still a win. And like I said, dude.
But you told me earlier that you wanted to finish this guy.
True, but a win on my record is a win on my record. And the thing is this, dude.
Oh, it's not a loss.
I was tearing him up, bro. He knew he wasn't gonna beat me.
I can understand the disappointment in not getting the W, especially if you were having a fight where you were feeling like you were on all cylinders, it was coming together and all these other things. But the other way to look at it is kind of what you were saying of, getting in there and getting the reps in and getting the time in.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't a waste of time. It wasn't a complete failure.
No, it was not.
I'm sure you still got your show money.
I got my show money, didn't get my win money. That pissed me off too. I was supposed to pay my rent next month with that. I'm out here fighting for scraps, trying to get my bills paid. And also, I'm trying to build my record up so I can get. I want to get to the UFC next year. All it takes is about what, 6 wins?
I mean, it depends. Jackson got there. I think he's 6-0, and he got the call. So it's like,
there you go.
6 good quality wins with finishes and stuff like that.
There you go.
Maybe some less, maybe some more, depending on. You're also a character. I think that's one of the things that's like an X factor that not enough fighters understand, is they think that just winning fights is enough.
Well, that's because they have no character.
Yeah.
They're a lot of these fighters, bro. They're just dumb, and they're athletes. They're dumb athletes. I'm not a dumb athlete. I haven't been athletic my whole life. I've just been a scrawny, intelligent person. Now, a lot of people might think that I'm just some big character, like I make up all this stuff, like, and try to build this character. This is who I am. I've always been like this since I was a little kid. When I was a little kid, man, I used to make up little dances with my cousin, and then we go into the living room and show it to our moms. Like, we do little skits and stuff. I'm a performer. I'm not just a fighter and a martial artist. I'm a performer. I love to perform. Like, everything from my vlogs before the weigh-ins to the weigh-ins and the walkout. Like, I like to perform, and that's also why I choose to fight a certain way. Like, yeah, I could grab a hold of someone and just grapple with them, but don't nobody want to see that. Nobody really wants to see that. They want to see striking. Last night, watching the UFC fights, dude, it's phenomenal exchanges on the ground, but the moment y'all are tied up and there's no action for like 3 seconds, people start booing.
Yeah.
People are booing.
Well, I can make the argument that it's the same way with striking whenever you have timid strikers, right? Even though they're on the feet, it's, out of range, these pit-pat jabs. They're not really committing to doing any damage or setting anything up. We were watching the UFC and we were watching the Jake Paul boxing match at the same time on the laptop. And I mean, the juxtaposition of like watching, if I was only watching that Jake Paul boxing match with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., I literally think I would have fallen asleep. Like, that's how, I think maybe in one round, there was like 5 punches between both fighters thrown.
Jeez.
Right? So like, I do resonate with people's critique, and especially in MMA, with like boring grappling, the lay and pray, all these other things. Duly noted. I was a wrestler. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. I also like striking. So like, for me, I can appreciate it all. But I do agree with you in the sense of like, if you're in there and you're trying to like outpoint the guy and stuff like that, it's not fun for the general populace. Might be fun for some of the learned people. It'd be, I like it. Like when Ilya passed Charles's guard immediately, I was losing my shit.
Yeah.
And then here's the other thing. The crowd was losing their shit too.
Yeah.
Because the crowd was educated and they're like, oh shit, Charles is a great jiu-jitsu guy, and the way he just passed that guard effortlessly, like, oh fuck, that's a big thing, right? But some people might not necessarily get that. Or if, Ilya just sat in that guard and like body head, that gets pretty boring as well, obviously. But I would also say that striking can be just as boring when the people aren't necessarily committing to the striking. So
True.
I do resonate with that, but I don't think that it is isolated to just the grappling. I think it could go same way with the strikers as well.
Right. The main thing is people want to see
action.
They want to see action, movement.
Yes.
Like,
you're in there for 5 minutes, which seems like a lot to a lot of people. You were talking about, like, can I go in there for 5 minutes? I don't know about you, dude, but, like, every fight I had felt, like, so fast. Like, I felt like with my pro rounds, it definitely felt like I had more time to work, set some shots up. When I was an amateur, I was like, there is no reason to do leg kicks. There's no reason to do jabs and all this other stuff. It's either heavy shots or I'm taking you down trying to sub you and ground and pound you because I don't have enough time in this fight for those shots to really accumulate. But then when I went pro, I was like, thank God, now I can work my jab. Now I can work the inside leg kick or the outside leg kick, the calf kick or whatever, because these things will accumulate, and then in round 2 and round 3, I can really use that to my advantage. However, Still the fastest thing I ever did, man. Like
Well,
fighting is like
that just
that.
goes to show that you was probably in shape, because when you're not in good fight shape,
It probably
that
feels
little
like forever.
that little 3 minutes, hey, bro, that little 3 minutes, bro, you're like, what in the hell? You're like, this is forever. But when you're in great shape, yeah, they go by very fast, very fast.
I wanted to ask you, you had a couple, forgive me, you had 2 professional kickboxing fights, correct?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
one was kickboxing, one was Muay Thai.
Forgive me, but I was in the research that I did. I try to do enough research to be learned, but not so much that I already know the answers to all the questions.
Right.
So I know that you had 2 professional fights before this. I'm curious for you. You say that you want to go into the UFC, but you've done kickboxing, you've done Muay Thai, you've done MMA now. Mm-hmm. Where is your affinity and why? Is it MMA because of the UFC, because it has the more prolific path to money? Would you ever see yourself doing like Glory or ONE FC or something like that? Like, where's your head at?
Money.
That's fair.
So the UFC, it's not just about the fight purse that you will get once you get to the UFC. It's about the endorsements, brand deals, notoriety, to where you can, have a big following. So it's more so about that UFC platform, not so much the fight purse itself. But dude, I'm willing to do whatever. I'll do some jiu-jitsu tournaments if they want to pay me. I'll do whatever. Like, I'm a martial artist, bro. I don't just train one thing. Like, I wrestle, I do jiu-jitsu, I do striking. Like, I do it all. So I'll do whatever. I love kickboxing. I love just like, we're just gonna stand and fight. I prefer Muay Thai though, because I do like the clinch and I do like the elbows and the knees. But yeah, the UFC, because that's where the money's at.
I would agree with you. I just had Drew Gigex on the previous episode and we were talking about that. And it was like the entry-level UFC fighter makes anywhere between 10 and 10 and 12 and 12. So 10,000 a show, 10,000 to win.
Or more, depending on who you are.
Or more, depending on who you are. But we were looking at the entry level for Glory, and it's 5 flat. So think about that for a second. If you're a UFC fighter and you lose your fight, so you don't get the win money, you still made twice as much as you would have made as the first fight in Glory, because it's a flat fee,
Right.
which I thought was interesting. I was like, damn, I didn't realize that I always knew that the money in fighting was bad. In my opinion, and this is going to make me sound like a douche, even at the UFC, it's when you're thinking about the caliber of fighters that you're having to fight, when you think about how many fights you could possibly have, it's not necessarily that good. Let me put it to you in this perspective. Let's say you get signed in the UFC tomorrow, okay? The average income in America is, I think, like $57,000 for like the average male in America, right?
Okay.
So for you to make the average income fighting in the UFC, you have to fight and win at least 3 times. 3 fights against some of the best fighters in the world, all throughout the world, to make the average income of the average person in America.
Beautiful. Sign me up. Because I'm working in a warehouse making like $25,000 a year right now. So to me, that's even making $100,000 a year fighting. I get to wake up and all I have to focus on is training. That's what I want.
That's a blessing.
That's what I want. That's what I like to do. I love to train. I love being in the gym. Anything that has to do with fitness, I love. It could be cardio. It could be even weightlifting. I don't lift weights, but I'll tell you what, when I'm in that gym and I pick up some dumbbells and I'm looking at my arms in the mirror, bro, I could do that all day. I'm sorry, I do that all day. I see every single striation popping out. I'm like, even these big guys in this gym are not built like me as far as like how I look, bro. Like, my physique is crazy because I mostly do cardio. So it's just like, I'm just a different type of. But then look, I was at the gym the other day. One of my buddies, he was in there. He was doing this what do you call that machine where you put the weights on, you just push it forward like this?
It's not the Smith machine. That's the one with the behind you.
You put the weights on the side and you just push it. You just push it forward. I was over there doing some little dumbbell stuff just for aesthetics, right? I'm doing some dumbbell. I look over at him. He smiled. He was like, he pointed at his weights that he was pushing, right? So I come over there. Look, I get on that mug. I get right here. I try to push it. Couldn't even move it an inch. Couldn't move it.
How much weight did he have on there?
I don't know.
How many plates did he have?
A couple.
Okay, so at least like 225.
Dude, I couldn't move it. I couldn't move it. And he was doing reps, I don't know, 12 plus. I couldn't even move it.
For me, fighting was always like a
But
passion.
if we fight,
Go ahead.
I'm whoop his ass.
Well, yeah, agreed. That's you want to know what's so crazy? The Liver King. Have you heard the stuff with the Liver King and Joe
Oh
Rogan?
my God, yeah, him calling out. Look,
It's
Joe
so
Rogan,
wild
dude.
to me that a grown man could be that oblivious to like the
Ah,
reality.
dude, Joe Rogan should have been like, okay, we're gonna fight man to man.
Why? No, why? Why? How many times have you had to tell
you're
people that
right.
you were like
You're
way
right.
above that want to like start shit with you? You're like, bro, I don't even want, like, you're not even worth my time.
Why? For the love of martial arts.
Yeah, but if you fight
for the love of
everybody,
humbling somebody.
yeah, well, when you have a lot of money and they can sue your ass, you
Okay, yeah.
take him to the
yeah,
gym,
yeah.
sign a waiver, okay?
But yeah, wait, that's what I'm saying.
No, but even then, dude. I'm telling you this right now. There is not anything somebody can do to be like, Ariana, aside of paying me a lot
Joe
of
Rogan's
money.
doing all this training for what? For moments like this.
No, I disagree.
Yes.
I disagree. I disagree because it validates him. He shouldn't. He doesn't. He hasn't.
Would you want to see it?
No.
No?
Because it wouldn't be long.
Dang it.
It wouldn't be long. It's the same way
I
I feel
expect
with
you
like.
to say, come on. You wouldn't.
I really don't. Listen.
All right, so
I'll
if the video
I'll
was
watch
out there,
two
you wouldn't watch
bums.
it. You'd be like, no, I'm not even going to watch
I'll
it.
watch two bums fight, two 0-0 guys that have never fought before. I'll watch that fight if it's well, like if it's well matched, if it's competitive.
But-
I don't like watching fights where like one guy is clearly not supposed to be in there with the other guy, because then it makes me feel like I'm watching like an act of bullying. Like you're gonna make.
But this is the Liver King we're talking about.
Yeah, he's hopped
This
up
is
on
the
all these
manliest
roids.
man.
Manliest man.
The manliest man you can find.
I think it's wild that in the year of our Lord 2025, people still haven't realized the fact that like how you feel about fighting is irrespective of the actual physical reality that you find yourself in. You could want anything. You could want to knock my head off. You could want to like, I got you in a rear naked choke, and you could want to keep your consciousness. Or how many?
want to
Like,
keep your
yeah, it's just like, oh, do you think getting knocked out is a choice? Ask anybody who's ever been knocked out.
not.
If they could choose not to be knocked out, they wouldn't. You know what I mean? It's just such an insane like comment. So like going back to your thing about like, wouldn't you want to see that if you're Joe Rogan, you do this, you open up the floodgates. You open up the floodgates. Then anybody
Yeah,
that wants
Joe
to talk
don't
shit,
need that. But guess what, dude? Oh,
nobody needs that.
I do. I
Well,
want
'cause
to
you're not
fight the
getting
Liver
paid.
King.
You said that you want to do it for money or whatever. You beat
Dude, you know how many views I'm going to get? Views can convert to dollars.
I agree. I mean, you're on to something if you need the clout and everything like that.
Come on.
I get it.
Come on.
But I guess for me, it's just like, no, you haven't earned it. I don't care. That's where it comes down to.
All
I
them
don't
supplements
care.
he's selling, when I whoop his ass, I'm going to create my own supplement. All his little people, they're going to start buying my supplements.
Well, that's the other thing too, is like the vanity of it all. So like a lot of times I used to think to myself, like, how many fighters, and I'd be curious to hear your response on this one. How many fighters do you think would still be fighters if they had $1 million in the bank? If they had $1 million in the bank, like all the fighters you know, like everyone you've trained with, everybody you've seen fight, like what do you think the percentage of these guys that if they had $1 million in the bank wouldn't fight anymore?
Oh, a lot of them would not.
So that means that they're fighting for a means to an end, right? That's fine. Like, it's nothing wrong. But then, like, there's very few people who genuinely enjoy physical combat.
Yes.
Okay? So outside of those people, if you're not training, shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have no idea what you're signing up for. Let me present to you in a different way. If someone's starting shit with you at a bar, do you immediately knock their head off? Is that what you resort to? If you're at like a social environment and like some guy's just mouthing off and stuff like that, why don't you just knock his head off, Will? You can.
I don't want to go back to prison.
That's a great reason that we have societal laws.
I just got out like 9 months ago. I'm not trying to go back.
Let's say that wasn't the case. Why wouldn't you just knock his head off?
I mean, I might. Depends on what he does.
Yeah, okay, well, I'll give you a prime example of why I wouldn't. 'Cause I don't know what that guy has. And that's the thing with the Liver King.
If he slaps my girl on the ass, he's going to wake up in the hospital.
I wouldn't put myself
If he's like, hey, I know you're that fighter, I'll whoop your ass, I'd be like, yeah, no, you wouldn't.
I can agree that there's circumstances in which self-defense or the preservation of the woes around you are different. I'm saying more of like, this is not that case, right? Because the Liver King is not slapping his wife's ass, right?
Right.
The Liver King's like, Joe, I want to fight you. Like, you're like, dude, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah, he's losing his mind.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is where I'm trying to go to is like, no, I wouldn't want to see that because it's not, first of all, it's not going to be competitive. And second of all, I think that guy's really troubled because he does have $1 million in the bank. He has more than $1 million in the bank. So does
whole lot
Joe.
more,
But
yeah.
this guy is like looking for, like, what are you looking for, dude? More clout, more vanity, more like there's something wrong there.
See, I'm I'm an active fighter, so anyone talks about fighting, like I'm like, let's go, come on. So that's why I'm like, I'd love
Yeah.
to see the fight because I'm an active fighder. So
Well, he's not.
yeah,
That's the other thing. If it was your boy, what would you tell him? Like, hey man, chill out.
I'd be like, watch out, I got this. I'd be like, hey, all right, watch out, I got this.
Would you fight on behalf of other people like that?
100%.
It's one of the things that annoys me the fucking most whenever I'm out and people start talking shit like, my boy, hey, relax. Don't start shit if you want me to end it. That's annoying.
Like, if someone's trying to fight you and you want to fight, then I'm gonna let you fight.
Exactly.
But if I feel like you don't want to fight, especially if I think that you're scared and someone's trying to fight you, I want to stand up for you because I hate bullies.
A caveat change though. Agreed. If that guy's bullying, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I've had friends or like acquaintances and stuff like that get mouthy.
Oh no!
Because they're around fighters.
No, you gonna
so they're
fight your
like,
own battles.
Yeah,
Look,
that's
I've
what I
had
mean.
friends
That
that
like, oh, I'm with my
someone tried to
boys.
fight them one-on-one and they was scared, and I was like, look, guess what? They're not my friends anymore.
Yeah.
If someone wants to fight you and you as a man will not fight in self-defense, then I can understand not wanting to fight. Like, but if they're coming after you and you're a coward, like I don't need coward friends.
Yeah.
I don't.
I guess I just don't seek altercations. I do not put myself in positions
Neither do I.
to have confrontation because I think to myself it's just the other thing too is I have so much to lose. I have a wife, I have a daughter, I don't want to go to prison, I don't want to lose my life, I don't want to knock this guy out or hurt him. Then he goes to his car, gets a gun, now I'm dead. I just don't care enough about whatever the fuck could have been said that night.
Right.
Now, outside of immediate physical danger, like, yeah, you slapped
Right.
my wife's ass or like you're trying to take my kid or whatever, I'll die for that, right? Outside of those like extreme circumstances, I think all of this is just theater and stupid, but not like good theater, stupid theater. I'm here for the clickbait shit. I'm here for drama and all that stuff. I eat that shit up.
Yeah.
But this looks like a mentally
Yeah,
unstable
he needs help.
individual
He
who
needs
needs
help.
help. And that's why I'm like, I don't like this.
No.
And I don't like where it's going. By the way, I think it's a reflection of our society because I think when you take a guy like him who has millions, he's a very successful individual, and he does this because he's getting something from this that he couldn't buy. Right?
Right.
So what is that? And what is he chasing? And then whatever that microcosm is of
Well, he went to jail, so he's an idiot. He got locked up.
Yeah, but not prison.
I don't know if he's out, but
he is out.
he got arrested. Like,
Yeah,
but
but jail and prison are two different things, right?
Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know. Jail's a lot worse than prison. Don't let anybody lie to you and tell you otherwise.
I'm curious if you want to talk about that. What happened?
So, oh my god.
How old were you?
So
Just young and dumb.
I just got out of prison like 9 months ago,
What did you do to get in?
and I've fought 4
Allegedly,
times.
what did
since
you
then.
allegedly do to get in?
Oh, allegedly, I unlawfully possessed a firearm, but I'm pretty sure I was born in America and I have the right to bear arms. Now, they tried to say that because I had a domestic assault from when I was 19, that I wasn't allowed to bear firearms, which is, just so unconstitutional. So that's what happened.
Well, it's not unconstitutional though.
Okay, so originally they raided my house because I was selling weed and mushrooms. Well, okay, they raided my house because they had a controlled buy for mushrooms. So I was selling weed, and then I had a little bit of mushrooms because I had a couple people that like mushrooms.
Do you think they were like trying to like put you in a position to catch you?
What they did, okay, so what happened was someone got in trouble, so they're like, they were going to snitch on some people, get some people set up.
Oh, no.
And the thing is, the police, man, it's their job to find people to lock up. So they raided my house for mushrooms, and I had like 7 pounds of weed, like 1.5 pounds of mushrooms, whole bunch of edibles and carts and wax. And I had some firearms too. And they're like, "You're not a felon, right?" I said, "No." They're like, "Okay, well, we have to take this because it's with the drugs." I'm like, I got it all in my safe. Like, that's where guns go in a safe, right? So
Ideally.
So they took all my stuff, and then 2 months later, I get indicted, federal charge of prohibited person in possession of a firearm. The most pettiest, dumbest shit that you could ever create.
And they sent you to prison for that?
Oh yeah, they gave me 29 months, and I ended up doing 19 months.
That seems excessive.
It was excessive. And it was right at, right when I was starting to take off, just one 3 belts back to back to back. Like I was just about to go pro, and then boom, that shit happens.
How old are you right now?
31.
Okay.
So
that was young in your career.
So I mean, that took off a year and a half of fighting. Well, really 2 years, because even when I got out, I was in the halfway house, blah blah blah. But
do you want to talk about that or no?
I mean, I was in the halfway house for like 2 months, and I came home. And
can I ask you what a halfway house is?
A halfway house is a place that you can go before you get home, and it's technically part of your sentence. So it's like you're not all the way free yet, but you're back on the street. You can see your family. You can get a job, stuff like that.
So you have to live in a specific place under court order? Is that like how it works?
Well, it just depends. You don't necessarily have to. You can do all your time behind bars if you want, but they're like, hey, you can go to the halfway house and for 3 months or whatever. Then
sounds good to me. I'll take
right.
that.
But I had got good time, because I didn't get in trouble when I was in there. So, I only did 19 months, or 18 or 19 months, something like that. But
did your time in prison change you think?
Oh my God. What? Yeah. Dude, yes.
That harsh?
Yes. The day that I got out, I thought like this whole 18 months, I'm waiting to get out of prison. I can't wait to be free. And the day I got out, bro, I've never had so much anxiety in my fucking life. I was at the bus station, like freaking out.
About what? Being free?
Dude, it was weird, man. It was so weird. And even to this day, like I had a friend tell me like a month or so back, I called him when I was at work, or I was on the phone with him, then one of my coworkers pissed me off, and I started saying all this stuff that I was about to, like all this stuff. He's like, Willie, you know you're not in Memphis anymore, right? Which I was in prison in Memphis. I'm like, yeah. Because, bro, like, it's crazy how just a short period of time, locked inside of a box with a bunch of other men that are locked inside of a box and don't want to be there, and all this drama is going on. Like, bro, it's crazy, bro. People were taking knives. People got knives on them all the time. You got to take a knife with you to the shower. Now, I didn't because, like, I just knew that no one was going to try me because I trained every day, and people knew, like I trained every day in there, so people knew not to mess with me. And then plus, I never gave anyone a reason. If you don't give people a reason and you're not a mark,
you don't look for trouble doesn't find you.
But if they think you're a mark, then
what does that mean? Mark.
A mark is.
You're talking to a white guy. Okay. I don't know if you know that.
A mark is an easy target.
Oh,
someone who won't defend themselves. An easy target. That's what when people say he's a mark, they mean an easy target. I'm not a mark. I was no easy target. They know if you come to me, you about to be fighting for your life. Paid, yeah. So no one ever mess with me. But bro, it's like that. Like someone got stabbed there over a cell phone when I was there. People getting into fights left and right. People get into fights over nothing. Card games, a pack of ramen noodles, snack case, like just everything. Who wants to watch what on the TV? It's crazy, bro. You're on high alert the whole time, bro. Like,
because it can always pop off.
You're not even supposed to walk behind somebody. You're not supposed to walk behind people. Like even today when I'm in the grocery store and people are standing behind me, and I'm like, why is this person standing so close to me? Why are you so close to me? This doesn't why are you so close to me?
They're oblivious to you.
So yeah, and which I already was a person, like even before COVID, bro, I'm just a different type of individual, bro. Like ever since I was a little kid, when I walk past people in public areas, when I get close to them and walk past them, I hold my breath.
To what? Prepare for altercation?
Because I don't want to breathe in whatever it is they are. Like, I don't know. It's just something my brain tells me. I don't want to smell people. I don't want to be near people unless it's a beautiful woman. Then I'm taking her in. No, I'm dead serious. Like, but if it's like another man or something, I hold my breath when I walk past them. Uh-oh. Or like if me and you're in the grocery store, I'm gonna try my best to be within 6 foot of you. This was all before COVID happened. Like when they said stay 6 feet away from people when COVID, so I was like, thank God, finally someone's making sense of this. Like you shouldn't be this close to people unless you're having an interaction with that person. So I was already, bro, even before I went to prison, bro, I was always like a lion. You know, like a lion, how they all jumpy and like you can't get close to them. Like when you're close, like you have to move very slow and stuff. That's how I am, bro. Like when loud noises happen or someone moves quick, like I'm very like jumpy. And then going to prison made that even 100 times worse. I'll tell you another thing about me getting locked up. Now when I fight, like already before I got locked up, I was like, I already had a warrior mindset. I already had like 25 fights. So I was very comfortable showing up and fighting on fight night. But after prison, bro, you think a fight is something to me? A fight, bro, in a cage, like it's nothing to me, bro. Like it's nothing to me.
That's one of the things I always hated about some of the ways some of these fighters used to talk about fighting. Oh, we're gonna go to war, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, what are you talking about? Or like, I'm willing to die in there. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
No,
this
you're
is
not.
A sport. Stop.
No, you're not.
You know what I mean? So like, I thought that MMA was the closest that we could come to true like unarmed physical combat, like true combat. But even then, we still have rules. I can't kick you in the dick. I can't gouge your eyes. I can't do all this other stuff. So even in our sport, it's technically a sport. Now, it's the closest thing to a fight.
And at any point, you got a referee right here to save you.
Yeah, so like, don't say that shit. I will also say this. There are very few guys that I know that are truly 0 to 100 really quick. Like, I know hundreds, if not thousands of fighters. And I could probably count on two hands how many of them, if there was like shit to go down, how many of them I want around me. That I'm like, okay, these guys are cool. Like we're gonna handle business if we have to.
Right.
Two hands. Everybody else, athletes.
Right.
All this other stuff. That's neither good nor bad. It's just something that I've noticed. You know what I mean? It's just like it is what it is kind of thing. Now, I also don't think that anybody should look for confrontation or should be starting fights or anything like that. And I actually think that a byproduct of training in martial arts is self-mastery. And that some of the coolest people that I know are martial artists. So it makes sense that these guys that are stone cold killers are also the ones that are reluctant to do that.
Bro, ever since, look, I've had 29 fights inside that cage. And those are all since I was age 17. So, you know, a man. You know how many street fights I've been in since then? One.
Yeah.
Only one. Even when I was in prison, like, could I look? Okay, so only one, and that's because he disrespected my home. So I had to teach him a lesson. I kicked him in the face. That was it. I just kicked him in the face, knocked his glasses off his head, and then I grabbed him and
don't let me do that again.
And that's literally what I said. This is what it looks like when someone loses control of their emotions. Yeah. Control yourself next time.
Yeah.
But luckily I kind of came to because I was about to hurt him, but I stopped. So even when I was in prison, bro. Look, they only gave me 29 months. I knew I was going to become a home soon. If they had given me like, let's say
10 years,
10 years or something, 10 years, something like that, guess what? Someone was going to die. Someone was going to die. There's no way I would have been able to be in there longer without severely hurting people over everything. I would have tried to run the whole freaking unit.
Because you were going to be in there so long that would be like...
This is my home now. I'm running everything. You move around. Y'all move around. I would find the other group of real fighters, which they got some in there. Like, there's one guy in there I was training with. His name's, we all called him Face. His name's Shanklin. Everyone calls him Face. He was down for quite some time, ever since he was young, and he loves fighting. So we was training every day. We'd be in the unit sparring for like an hour straight. Like, we was in there training. I was teaching him. Dude, I would teach him something. Then the next day we'd be sparring and he'd be trying it. He was actually like a real fighter. Like, as far, like, he...
You still talk to him?
Yeah, on Instagram. He just got out. But we was in there training.
Well, shout out Face.
So shout out to Face. Like, he actually helped them last couple months I was in there. He made all the bit of a difference in how I felt every day because I had someone to train with.
This is going to sound really weird to kind of bring up in this story, but how important is that camaraderie through martial arts? Oftentimes, the military is synonymous with that band of brothers, and I think the reason for that is because they're handling such high stressful environments, and they're going into highly dangerous areas, and they're doing it together. So it creates this camaraderie unlike anything that we probably know, because very rarely do we in our sophisticated lifestyles ever experience that.
However, it's very important.
You're in prison, and here you are with another individual also. Like, you didn't know each other beforehand.
Nope.
You met through this.
And click like that.
And clicked like that. And then also then began, like, training one another, sparring with one another, just kind of like, I don't want to say it's like a band of brothers similar to the military, but like you found an affinity or a connection between one another, and you guys kind of held on to that. I think that when I was growing up, my mom was always like, don't hit people. Why would you ever want to punch your friends?
Yeah.
And the irony of that now is like my closest friends have all hit me in the face, which I think is hilarious. Do you think there is something to be said about the respect men give other men when it comes specifically to undergoing the same trials and tribulations as us? Perhaps it's not face. Perhaps there's another person who's also been incarcerated that then starts telling you their story. Now you have like this affinity to them because perhaps some of your stories kind of resonate with you and what you've been through. So now you have a newfound respect for this individual because he's been through some of the same things that you have. Not necessarily with you, but you have this common ground now.
Right. And then y'all have that common ground. Y'all been through the same stuff. Then ultimately, look where you're at. You're both now in the same place, suffering the same fate. So, I mean, automatically you have that, like, that level of, like, dude, we're both here. Like, we're going to, like, this shit sucks for, we're going to fucking go through this bullshit together. Like, it sucks for both of us. And,
did you find strength in that?
yes, you do. You 100% do.
How do you combat the thought that a lot of times strength is synonymous with the individual, a stoic, strong person willing to undergo all odds by himself, yet we can acknowledge that there is strength in numbers.
There is 100% strength in numbers. That's why, like, when I was in prison, like, I didn't just work out with, like most people have their workout crew, and they'll work out with the same people every day. They have their routine. Me, I was working out with everybody. I go do push-ups one day with this guy, dips the next day with that guy. Dude, I was doing everything. We had a flag football team in there. I was crushing. There was like, everyone was like, damn, champ run like a horse. Champ run like a horse. That's what everyone called me in prison, champ. No one called me.
Oh, I thought they called you horse. I'm like, that's a great name.
No, everyone called me champ. But
by the way, if anyone wants to start calling me horse, I'm not gonna be mad about that.
I wouldn't be mad about that either. But yeah, so I worked out with lots of people. I would find that people I know, all right, this guy right here can do 1,000 push-ups, and I can comfortably do like 300. Dude, these guys had me do 1,000 push-ups in an hour, bro. When I tell you I thought I was gonna die, bro, I thought I was gonna die.
Do you ever look back at your time in prison? Like, do you ever reminisce on it, or is it like something you try to kind of suppress and move on from?
Oh, I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. It helps me get in a better mood. Like I look at my bank account and it has zeros in it. I'm like, well, shit, when I was in prison, I was counting my commissary. So it's like, yeah, I can always reflect back on the time where I was behind bars to make me feel better about the fact that I'm free. And I got brothers that's still locked up right now, and they would kill to be in my position. So for me to sit around in a shitty mood is just, I'm just ungrateful. So it helps me be very grateful. I have to constantly remind myself, like, dude, you could be locked up. You could be dead. Like, you need to
count your blessings.
You need to count your blessings, and you need to live your life to the fullest.
Can I ask you another question? And I need to preface it before I do this. Understand that if there is anything you don't want to talk about, feel free to tell me to eat shit. I'm not going to.
Don't worry.
Yeah. I say that because I don't want anyone feeling like they're obligated to, like, how has, a lot of times it's synonymous with strife having a record because it prevents you from getting jobs. It prevents you from living in certain places. That background check now, for someone like me, I'm like, go ahead. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? But I also don't have a history, right? So for someone like you who now has to kind of shoulder that burden, can you describe that to me? And forgive me, I'm not trying to sound obtuse or insensitive.
No, bro. Don't worry about that at all. Like, bro, I'm a man. I'm not some little sissy boy that
still,
like I'm a man, bro. I can talk about my feelings and how I feel about everything, and I'm an open book. So the thing is with my record now, if I didn't have to be a fighter before, I damn sure do now. What else am I gonna do? People look at my record and it's like, you know how hard it is for me to even get a good paying job? Oh, but domestic assault when he was 19, possession of firearms. This guy is dangerous. So if I didn't have to fight before, I damn sure do now.
Has it come up on interviews and stuff like that? Do you have to like?
I mean,
Can you also tell them like, hey, I'm 31. That happened when I was 19.
it don't matter, dude.
It doesn't matter.
They don't care when it comes to like corporate jobs and stuff. That stuff they don't care about that. And the thing, me not being able to own firearms, that shit makes me want to move out of the country. I might as well move to the UK or somewhere where no one has them. Might as well go to knife country.
I don't know if you've heard about what's been going on in the UK.
I don't, but I'm just saying. Look, I might as well move somewhere where I can own them. In America, not being able to own firearms, that's not cool, man. That's not cool. I'd rather have it, not need it, than need it and not have it.
I'm gonna say something that might anger you. I do think that when people here's the thing.
I'm already mad, so it doesn't matter.
I think two things can be true at the same time. I think that the for-profit prison system can encourage law enforcement to kind of, when you're a hammer, you start looking for nails, right?
100%.
So I do think that there are instances in which people are kind of chosen to be the nail, okay? However, I also want to live in societies where if you break societal norms, if you do break laws, then you do have certain rights and privileges reprimanded from you. But I also don't necessarily like that is forever, specifically for someone when they're youth. Because like I remember when I was 18, 19, 20, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. The only difference between you and I, probably some severity. Like I'm not saying that we were on the same boat, but like I can't tell you how much stupid shit I did.
Yeah.
The only difference was I never got caught.
Right.
And I'm sure that a lot of people between the ages of 18 and 25 have very similar stories of like doing dumb shit, getting drunk, what have you. And then the only difference is like whether or not there was a cop there that night or not, right? So that kind of sucks when it feels like sometimes the hand of fate, it could be the roll of the dice on whether or not you got lucky.
Oh yeah, it's like, bro, I'm marked now. I got the
forever.
I got the political mark of the beast. Like, I can't do things that. What if I wanted to join the military and help fight for our country? I can't do that. What if I wanted to be a police officer and help protect the community? I can't do that.
Let me ask you a question. So when I had Liz on, Elizabeth Helton, she also got convicted and everything, but she appealed it. Like there's apparently, and she did it, I believe, in Illinois, so even like a little bit more liberal than Missouri, right? But she appealed it, and she got her history got removed. So like there's a process in which you can actually like apply for an appeal, and it worked for her.
When it comes to a regular assault, like, all right, if me and you get into a fight now and you press charges, so in 7 years I can get that expunged. Now, say you're my brother and we live together and it's domestic assault, you cannot get that expunged.
Really?
It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's dumb. This justice, dude. The laws here, they're just dumb, man. It's just crazy. It's crazy. It's so crazy.
I think I want to be careful how I say this. I think that when people break laws, I am like a tough on crime guy. When people break laws, there needs to be accountability. There needs to be repercussions. However, I don't think like if you've served time, that's your most valuable asset.
Right. It's like the thing is this. The punishment never ends.
Well, I'll even go a step further.
It never ends.
I'll go a step further. Because of that, I don't want to sound like an apologist or whatever. Like that's not what I'm trying to do. But I am trying to tackle this logically. If you tell someone who has broken the societal norms of our country, and then you incarcerate them and take away time from them, and then they get out of that, barring certain heinous acts like murder, rape, pedophilia, things like that. Like I think there's levels for crimes for a reason, right? But when it comes, but I also think there should be adjudication. Like if a judge can sentence you, then a judge can look at your sentence and then also be like, well, how long is this going to carry on after he served his time? As far as I'm concerned, the majority of crimes, once time has been served, the justice has been done.
You ever heard of double jeopardy? Meaning you can't charge someone twice for the same crime?
Correct.
Well, let me explain something about the federal justice system. You will get charged for the same crime, okay? Because they work on what's called a point system. So if you have, all right, say you get caught with a firearm and you shouldn't have it, and I get caught with one I shouldn't have it, but I got 3 felonies and you only got 1, I'm going to get more time because of my past. That is double jeopardy. You're giving
You're
me more
using my
time for my
history.
past, something I already paid for.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That doesn't sound just.
They go by
to
the
me.
point system.
Well, if
it's
justice
crazy.
is supposed to be blind, that falls flat on its face from that.
Exactly.
Because every instance, well, here's the thing. The problem, though, is like if you ask, there's always two sides to a story. So I'm trying to play devil's advocate on this one. I'm sure if I had a law enforcement individual on here right now, they would probably say the same thing that I'm thinking, and that is that the majority of the crimes are being committed by repeat offenders, which is the case. However, I don't think necessarily that causation equals causality. Forgive me. It's like the cause of something is not perpetrated by what you think will happen. It is by what happens. So it's the same thing about profiling. Like, so here's how I feel about profiling. You'll agree or disagree. When I walk around people, whether they're black, white, Hispanic, or whatever, you want to know what I look for? Affluence. If these people look wealthy or intelligent or whatever, guess what I'm doing? I'm walking a little bit looser.
Right.
I'm chilling a little bit more.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're black, white, or whatever.
Yeah.
But if I'm walking in an urban area and there's a bunch of white people and they all look hardened because of hard times and they're not necessarily the most literate and all these other things, guess what I'm doing? I'm walking a little bit more upright. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter if they're black, white, whatever. I'm profiling.
Oh yeah.
From what I'm seeing.
Everybody
does.
does.
However, by profiling, I'm looking at that as like a defensive mechanism. I'm looking at my surroundings. I'm taking in information. I'm going to react accordingly. But what I cannot do is then be offensive with that. You look like you could be
Right.
breaking some crimes. You look like you're guilty. So I'm now going to try to like position that on the attack.
Right.
I think that's a slippery fucking slope because by the same metric in which I said that if you break laws, certain norms and rules should be taken away from you, I also think that you're born with inalienable rights, gifted by God, that no man can take from you before that fact. So I don't have the right to just like seize you and check you without a warrant or invade your home without a warrant or things. You have rights and liberties afforded to you by God, a higher being than I.
Yeah.
So I cannot extend that courtesy more than it should be. Now, that's why I say I think that once time is served, barring any sort of like circumstances that are extraneous, and that's why I think like if you have a judge, an adjudication process is basically like to have someone go through the merits of the case and say this is bad, this is good, what have you. You have that every time you go into the eyes of the court before a judge, right? So if you have the time to sentence someone to serve time, then you should also have that judge be then culpable or accountable to also kind of extend that to be like, okay, well, you're going to serve 29 months in prison. And if you're on good behavior, we'll make it 19, which I do agree with. Like if people make mistakes and if they feel not necessarily guilt, but remorse and they're growing as an individual, you were 19, 18. You're a fucking kid.
Look,
you know what I mean?
but dude, I wish I had my court date film. Bro, if you would have heard what I said in that courtroom,
Were you going off?
Oh, no, I was explaining to him why it is I was doing what I was doing. Like, see, the thing is I got charged with possession of a firearm, but to them, it wasn't really about the firearm. It was about the fact that I had 7 pounds of weed and mushrooms. They're mad because I'm making money and not paying taxes.
I don't think it's that. Can I be honest with you?
Bro, I was in the courtroom.
I
The
think
judge-
they're looking for low-hanging fruit.
Well, what I'm saying is this.
I think they saw a black guy with drugs and guns on him. I think it's low-hanging fruit. I don't think it has anything to do with taxes. I don't think it has anything to do with any of that shit. I think it has something to do with we put a bad guy behind bars.
I said not paying. I said not paying taxes because I didn't own a dispensary. That's why I said that.
The business aspect of it.
Right, the business aspect.
Well,
not
when you were 19,
but what I'm
it was,
saying is
it was
I was
illegal
being,
in the States. So
I
I
was
don't know.
I was being
Was this
charged.
Memphis?
Memphis? This was in
Tennessee?
This was in Cape.
Oh,
They
this
had
is
just
in Cape.
passed a
Forgive me,
law
forgive me.
to make it recreational. But anyways, what I'm saying is they were really wanting to lock me up because I was selling weed, not so much the firearm. And I explained
The firearm is what they can
charged
do
me
that with.
Yes,
It's the vehicle to
But
get
I
the
explained
ends.
to him, I was like, dude, to make a long story short, I explained to him I didn't even want to sell weed. I was working full time as a caregiver, okay, but it wasn't enough money to take care of my kids, so I started selling weed on the side, okay. I didn't want to sell weed. I don't care about selling weed. I didn't want to wake up in the morning and do that. It actually gave me anxiety because I knew that it was not legal. I knew I didn't own a dispensary. So I didn't actually want to do that. And so when the judge seen like, okay, this isn't just some criminal, like, and he asked me about my career, I'm like, well, let me explain something. I'm still an amateur fighter. I was supposed to start going pro this year and making money. Now it looks like I'm going to prison. So when I explained everything to him, he realized, okay, this is a guy that was trying to do the right thing. He has a career. It just hadn't started to pay off yet. So yeah, he was selling a little bit of weed to take care of his kids. So that's why I didn't get 3 to 5 years instead of getting 1 to 2.
Oh, so
he could have gave me more time.
He could have gave you more.
He could have definitely gave me more time.
I'm gonna say something, and this is a very sensitive topic, so forgive me. I still think that even in the act of giving you time, he sentenced you to life, because now you have this record.
Yeah,
and that's my thing. That's what I want to harp on.
It's cool because here's the thing. Look, all I gotta do is just knock a bunch of people out, get to UFC, okay, and then when Trump's sitting there front row, I shake his hand. I just need to get in the room with Trump.
Do the dance.
And look, Trump, I'm gonna be your #1 supporter. Look, I'm gonna get your face tattooed on my chest. Just give me that presidential pardon, and then everything will be cool.
I know you're joking, and
I'm not joking. That's
still,
my plan.
It's still wild.
At least a governor pardon. Even if I can get a governor pardon.
That's what Liz did. She got a pardon from the governor.
Yeah, well, I need to get that too.
I think I might need to link you two up. Have you ever tried?
I didn't know nothing about Liz doing all that stuff. I didn't.
Yeah, she because she did have a record, and then I didn't know any of this, and then throughout the story that she was telling me on the podcast, the end was like the cherry on the top. She's like, yeah, it actually got pardoned.
That's crazy because so many people
I didn't even know that was a thing.
And those usually don't even get looked at.
Yes, you're not wrong.
They usually don't even get looked at.
You're not wrong on all these accounts, but here's what I am trying to say is like, as you develop your career, because you're still a young guy in your athletic prime, who knows what the future will hold? And I'm telling you that if there are any circumstances in which you can get that removed, because you do seem like a capable individual that lives in our society. And by the way, I didn't even know you were in prison until you brought it up. Like, I thought you were like, oh, this is like a well-spoken guy. Like, he's really smart, you know what I mean? Attention to detail and all these things, and a great fighter. So there's the acumen of the mentality that it takes to become a great fighter. That's crazy.
I thought everyone knew. I put it on my Facebook. Come on now.
Well, I did enough.
Hey, look, that was 9 months ago. You see how quickly things just
that you got out.
Like things are forgotten so quickly. Most people, unless they seen at that time, they would never even expect that. Yeah. To people that see me fight on Saturday. If I told them I just got out of prison 9 months ago, they'd be like, "How? How are you this world-class fighter? This doesn't make sense." Now, granted, I didn't do much time, and it was just some petty little crap. But, yeah, man, it happens to a lot of people. A lot of people. I remember, growing up, people talking, just through casual conversation, they're like, yeah, when I got out of prison, I'm like, what? You went to prison for what? They're like, oh, I got caught with a little bit of weed. Like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it happens to a lot of people.
Sean Woodson's mom went to prison, and she was like a 70-year-old. Forgive me, Sean Woodson's mom, not 70. But, she's an older woman, and it was, for some, accounting fraud from her company. And she had to go to, prison for that.
Yeah.
And here's my thing about the judicial system. I am a person who is tough on crime. We have rules and laws. And if you break those rules and laws, then we make you pay your most precious commodity, time. I don't necessarily think a lot of times that the time is conducive to the act.
Right.
Sometimes it seems egregious. Sometimes it's not. Okay, fair. But I do also think it's crazy how we kind of penalize you twice. One is the immediate. The other is infinite, which is wild to me. Barring extenuating circumstances, like I said, murder, rape, pedophilia of any kind.
I'm telling you, bro, some of these judges out here
are
wild. Now, some have compassion. They will actually look at,
Have you ever thought about taking it to an appeals court or anything like that, or no?
Well, I ain't got money for a lawyer, but I had a lot of my family write letters.
That's another thing, right?
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Who's got money for a lawyer?
Me.
I don't. So I had my family write letters to the judge and stuff like that. He read all of them. He read the letter. I wrote them all. So I had a good judge. Now, there was another judge in that same courtroom. Bro, he was cooking people. You know what they call him? They call him the Hammer.
Okay.
When people get this judge, they're down in the bullpen, which is the cells waiting to go to court, and they're crying. When they find out they got this guy, the guys, grown men, start crying. Because, my judge gave me 29 months. If I would have got that judge, bro, he probably gave me 10 years. he slams people, bro. They make it a point, like, they'll say stuff like, I'm going to give out 1,000 years before I retire. Stuff like that.
That's wild.
They slam people.
That is wild that anyone can say that and still have their job.
They slam people, bro.
I think, like I said, in my affinities, I am very financially conservative, socially liberal. That's how I've always kind of like seen. I'm always like a live and let live guy. Don't tax me more. Go fuck yourself kind of guy.
Yeah.
You let me live, I let you live. However, we do live in a society with like laws and norms, and I feel like the second we don't acknowledge those, then society devolves into chaos. However, I think that we need to kind of also remember humanity, and that by the same flip of the coin that you could have the hammer who takes a bunch of people and gives them the most sentence, like that needs to be looked into.
And apparently he was under investigation.
Yeah, imagine if there was a police officer that was like, I'm gonna give out 1,000 tickets this year. Like,
yeah, right.
Are you protecting or are you serving?
You're going like, 2 miles over. You're cooked. I got you.
It's wrong is wrong in all aspects of life. Is what you did wrong by the norms of our society? Yes, you shouldn't have been selling drugs. You shouldn't have been doing all this stuff. Then there's a story to it. Now, I don't necessarily think that a story allows and like constitutes people to break laws, but I think a story matters. So like, did you break a law? Yes. But does the story matter? Also, yes. I don't think these things are like black and white. I think there's a lot of shades of gray that need to be taken into consideration. And the problem with this is we're talking about people's lives and whether or not they're going to be able to have lives. Because I go back to this. It's not the 19 months that you served. It's the next 50 years that you're going to live if you're lucky, without now this is hanging on your shoulders forever. That's the part that, like, for me, as far as I'm concerned, did you fuck up? Yeah. Did you serve your time? Yeah. I'm gonna lord that over you.
I wouldn't take it back for nothing.
Really?
I wouldn't take it back for nothing.
Why not?
That 18 months that I served, I mastered the art of not giving a fuck.
I think
I don't care about nothing anymore.
Yeah, but I don't think that's healthy.
Very healthy. Look at me. Do I not look healthy?
I think you look healthy, but I don't think we.
Hey, remember when Conor McGregor was getting interviewed and he was talking about how he lost his mind to fighting and the guy says, "Do you think that's healthy?" He says, "Do I look healthy? Yeah. Look at this physique." But it's definitely healthy when it comes to being a fighter.
I think
most fighters are so caught up in like, what if I win? What if I lose? What if this? I don't care. I don't care about none of that. It doesn't mean nothing to me. Everything is just dust.
Yeah, but don't you think it's a slippery slope between that and like now? So right now there's a lot of optimism in the career, right? And here's the thing I'm going to say is like, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this one. How many fighters do you know thought they were going to be somewhere with fighting, and now they're teaching mid sessions for $20 an hour? And
$20 an hour, that's pretty good shit, huh?
Fair.
hey, I make less than that. What you talking about, $20 an hour? But no, look, okay, so let me explain something. Just because I said I mastered the art of not giving a fuck does not mean I don't give a fuck. I don't carry that around with me in front of me. It's in my pocket. So when it's time to pull it out, like, for example, I got a fight coming up, it's fight week or it's fight day and I'm starting to feel nervous or something. Like, it's like about a loss, because why do people get nervous? Because they think they're going to lose. So I just pull it out like, I don't give a fuck. Okay, when I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sore. My back, my biceps, my legs, my feet. I do not want to train today. Like this, like it's so physically taxing. I don't give a fuck.
It's the trump card.
You see what I'm saying? So it helped me master that. Like, master my emotions, because you have to control your emotions when you're locked up. Otherwise, you're going to get into fights. You're going to get put in the hole. You're going to get good time taken away from you. All these things. So it helped me truly master my emotions. And at the same time, it did kind of screw me up in the head. But I use that for fighting. I don't let that trickle into the other parts of my life. Like, I use all that for fighting.
Do you think that trauma is always a bad thing?
No, it can be a good thing.
I agree.
If you know how to channel the energy.
I agree.
And that's what
Sometimes
I
people
mean by
talk
that.
about trauma and like, oh, I carry my trauma and all this other stuff. And I think to myself, not that I want to openly to discuss my own traumas, but I am very cognizant of the things that I carry within my soul. And I'll be the first person to tell you that like I would not be the man I am today without them.
Right.
And
David Goggins,
in a weird way,
he calls it his
I'm
cookie
glad
jar.
they happened.
Like his cookie jar, that's all trauma. Like the time he ran 100 miles and did it on broken feet, like that was 100 miles of trauma. Like that's his cookie jar. So I can, when I'm feeling stressed out, I can go into my cookie jar and think, remember when you was sitting behind bars, looking out the window and you could barely even see the little highway in Memphis, like, and I'm like, wow, where I'm sitting right now is actually pretty chill. So that trauma is a cookie jar. You can go into it and it's all about comparing down, don't compare up. So simple as that. Compare yourself to the times you were down. If I look back a year, 2 years back and where I'm at now, I'm going up. It's simple as that. Like everything's up from here. So
I still think that off the record, I'm gonna link you up with Liz and see if if it's a discussion of like lawyers. I mean, you and I could talk. I have a guy that I have on retainer, and any month that he's not doing work for me, it's worth a try. Worst case scenario,
it's
nothing
worth a try.
happens.
Yep.
Best case scenario, something does happen.
You miss every punch you don't throw.
Yeah. So I don't know. Food for thought. We've done a good amount of justice about talking about some of your past, but I'd like to, if you don't mind, talk about some of your future and some of the current. Okay?
100%.
Specifically the current. You live out in Cape Girardeau.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me, because I'm a St. Louis guy, what is the MMA scene? What is the fighting scene? What is the gym scene like out there? Like, illuminate it for me. Are there a lot of gyms? Are there a lot of platforms to fight?
So
Are there a lot of opportunities there?
My teammate and I, Gavin Bland, we opened up a Flawless MMA Academy about 7 months ago,
like that name.
and it's going quite well. We have some kids, and we got a few kids, a few adults, and it's going well. We teach like basically everything you need to know for MMA. We teach striking and grappling, wall work, which is karate, boxing, Muay Thai, judo, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling. We teach all that in our classes. So
When did you guys open that?
like 7 months ago.
Congratulations, dude.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, and it's awesome. I love teaching. I love teaching the kids and the adults. It can be frustrating at times, and that's just, but only because like I want them to be able to do what I can do. So, but I just remind myself, well, you want them to do something that took you 5 to 10 years to get. So, be patient, and I just give them the drills and just constantly explain what they need to be doing. So, our school is going well. I personally go and train also at Carpe Momentum Jiu-Jitsu. Phenomenal instructors there. John Dudley, he's a beast. I mean, the guy's like 100 years old, and
but doesn't look a day past 50.
He wraps me up like a Christmas present. No, but John, he's awesome, man. Great, phenomenal. Like he took my jiu-jitsu to the next level. So many details that I was missing and submissions I was doing, and yeah, he's a phenomenal instructor, especially when it comes to like leg locks, and which is why I was able to defend my last fight. My opponent was trying to put me in a heel hook and a straight ankle lock, and I was able to defend. So great school, a bunch of awesome teammates I got there, and then you got a couple other places in Cape, but that's those. I ain't really gonna mention those places because I don't train there. I don't know what the environment is there currently.
So how do you view other gyms? Do you look at them as competition? Do you look at them as peers? What is your perception of the other gyms?
Well, as a competitor, I look at them as competition. But as a martial artist, I look at them as a family.
Gotcha.
So, but it's a weird kind of
dichotomy.
If you're asking the Rainmaker, I might put 2 middle fingers up towards the other gyms. But if you ask the martial artist Willie Henderson, I'm going to say, you got this great, phenomenal Taekwondo school over here, Jiu-Jitsu school over here. But yeah, it's kind of weird because I'm a competitor, and that's also why I try to balance out how I speak when it comes to martial arts, because for one, I am an instructor, but I also am a fighter. So, it's kind of, I try to be very professional, but at the same time, like, I make no mistake, I am a fighter.
Do you feel like that's difficult to wear those two hats? Because I feel like to be a fighter is an immensely selfish endeavor. but to be a teacher, it's an immensely selfless endeavor.
It's
So
it's
you're having two
it's not for me
complete opposite
because the
hats.
thing is this: who do you want to teach you trench warfare? Someone that's in the trenches, not some guy that's not in the trenches and trying to tell you. Because the thing is this: things evolve. So if you're not in that cage, if you're not fighting the competitors, then you can in a way kind of miss out on a lot of the evolution of fighting. I'm a fighter currently, so it's easy for me to teach my fighters like, look, this is what is practical for fighting
Today.
not just martial arts. Not this is what is practical for fighting other actual trained fighters. So I don't feel like it's complicated. I feel like it suits it. They complement each other very well. And when I teach, I'm not a selfish teacher. I'm trying to pour into you, and I'm trying to give you the shortcuts that I didn't get. Like, if I had wasted a lot of time on a specific drill, I'm not going to give you that drill. I'm going to give you something else, And then as far as the mindset goes, dude, I've had 29 fights. That's a lot of trial and error. And me, I'm not set in my ways as a fighter. I would try new things in each fight. I'll try different mindsets. Like, okay, my last fight, I amped myself up to about a 7. This one, I'm going to dial it back to a 5. And then, this one, I'm going to dial it up to a 9. I'm going to, like, my energy, like, just all these different little things you can adjust when it comes to that fight night. And so I feel like they complement themselves very well, me being a fighter and an instructor.
I think you spoke some wisdom, if I may, on the delineation of a coach that has kind of been out of the game and a coach that is currently in the game. Because I do think that there's value. First off, there's value in both.
Yes.
I think that someone who's been doing it for a long time by virtue has then experience, which I think there's value in. However, I have seen where coaches or instructors or whoever, the cornermen, former fighters, and they've been out of the game.
Yeah.
And they might be, here's the
And they're trying to teach you something. Look, if you're my instructor, you're trying to teach me something that was working 10 years ago when you was competing. And
that's
it
a lifetime
and
ago.
it ain't working right now.
Brother,
I'm gonna be
I'd
like,
say
hey, coach,
anything above 9 months is old.
That shit don't work no more.
Yes.
That shit ain't working.
10 years is a life. 10 years ago, GSP was the champion.
Dude.
Like think about that logically. Like, here's the problem with fighting as opposed to other sports. It's still super fucking nascent. So, like, if you were top tier world beater 10 years ago, by all means, congratulations. I give you your roses. You don't know what the fuck is going on right now.
Yeah.
I've been out of the game for 2 years.
People weren't even doing calf kicks back then.
Yes. Bro, when Anderson Silva knocked out Vitor Belfort with that teep kick to the face, no one in the gym even knew what a teep kick was. They're like, oh, that's right. You could just throw a fucking kick right up the middle.
They knew
and
in
now
Thailand, though.
teep kicks are like universal. Like, everybody knows how to do teep. Even the amateurs know how to do teep kicks. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, do I think you want a coach who's not a fighter because then they can pour solely into you? Perhaps. Do I think there's value in a coach that who's still actively competing because they can be like, listen, my last fight, I thought this was going to be the case. Boy, was I wrong. Let me incorporate that into my instruction. There's also value there. I think that the best gym to have is a little bit of everything.
Right.
You got the old head in the back talking about legacy and the way we used to do it, because it's good to understand your history. Then you got the guy who maybe is the jiu-jitsu instructor. Maybe he's like, well, I used to fight, but I'm currently retired. And, some of these things that I'm going to tell you are still adjacent. Some of these things may be out of pace, but at least you know them. Then you got the guy who's still in the fucking, like, in the weeds with you. As you said, the trenches. And they could tell you, my last fight, I could tell you what worked and what didn't work. Here's firsthand experience. I think there's value in all of that. And I think good gyms have a sprinkling of all of it. I think you need that. Because MMA is the collection of everything. Right. So it would make sense that you have a collection of everything. Perhaps I'm wrong. What the fuck do I know? You know what I mean?
I'm sure you're spot on.
How is the scene in terms of competition in Cape? Because I know you guys have Cage of Honor, but I'm not necessarily, so like in St. Louis, this is the market that I know. We have Shamrock, Stand Up Fight Series, NFA, Ian Zarvos has a promotion, and then out in KC they got KCFA, and then they also have like Synergy. Synergy I think also does.
The only thing we have in
Springfield.
Cape is Cage of Honor, which I'm fighting on next month.
Oh.
So yeah, I have
didn't
a
know
fight
that.
next
Forgive me.
month. So hey, if you're in Cape, around Cape, hit me up for the tickets on Facebook or Instagram. I got tickets. Don't
We'll
buy
put a
them from
link.
anybody else. Get them from me. so I can get my commission. And
Do they not give you the commission if it's online?
I don't think they have it set up like that.
Oh, really?
But I got my tickets, so I got tickets, so people can get them from me. And yeah, this so okay, like we talked about. You talked about, oh, this is what I learned my last fight. What I learned my last fight was
Don't kick him in the dick.
be very careful when you throw inside leg kicks, and possibly don't throw any at all.
That much?
Especially for someone like me, you gotta think, I'm very tall. So with the person being very short, just mechanically
It'll go
that
up.
kick to the cup can happen more often than opposed to like them kicking me, because for them to kick me in the cup, they'd have to more so be kicking upward.
It's above their waist.
But with the leg kick, you're not kicking up, you're kicking downward. So my last fight I learned, you know what, for my build going against these shorter guys, man, forget about the leg kicks. I don't even really throw that many leg kicks. Like, that's not even really my thing. I was doing it more so to kind of mess with his movement, but dude, I'm kicking people in the head and in the body. That's usually what I do. But so that's what I kind of learned my last fight. Stay away from the leg kicks so much. Just kick him in the face. And then also, like I said, I was playing with my my intensity. I had mine down to like a 4 or 5-ish, but I need to crank that up to like a 7 at the least or above.
Is that
Because
in training or you mean night of?
I'm talking about in the fight.
Got you.
Because now I'm allowing him to weather the storm when I hurt him. Like when I dropped him, I could have went berserker and finished him, but my intensity was a little bit too low. For one, I wanted to feel the pace of the 5-minute round, and then two, I wanted to make sure I didn't make any mistakes. But, you know, the thing is, nobody's perfect. You're going to make mistakes, and as long as you're a beast like me, a mistake is nothing, because I'm just, for one, I can take a shot. Like, I got a chin. I can take shots. I can get out of submissions. I can get out of sticky situations. So what I learned from my last fight is to turn my intensity up. And then also, you know, picking and choosing my fights wisely, because I'm realizing more and more with each fight, if I put myself up against an opponent that's also going to push a pace, they're going to bring more of a fight out of me. Like they say, you rise to the level of your opponent. So I got to start looking for some tougher guys, because these little mediocre guys, they're not really bringing that fight out of me the way that I need it brought out.
Can I present to you a separate argument? And I hate that I say this, because the mentality that I had as a fighter was, who's the next guy? Like a step above. And it bit me in the ass in my career. And then I see guys that didn't necessarily have that same approach, and they're having a lot more fruitful end game than I did. I hate to say this out loud the way I'm about to say this, but this is what I believe. I think that for the longest time we've talked about how MMA is becoming boxing, where it used to be that MMA guys, like the biggest fish in the smallest pond, then would jump to the next pond, so on and so
Right.
forth. That is just simply not the case, unfortunately. Or fortunately.
Meaning,
I don't really care what people say, because I've seen this happen and I do believe this anymore. I don't think you have to take tough fights at all anymore.
see, and
If
that,
the
look,
goal is the UFC,
that was
it's no
my
longer the
mindset
case.
too. Because here's the thing, I've had many a tough fights as an amateur. I had 20.
Which is
27
when you
fights.
should have
no,
tough
26.
fights, because it's
Right.
only temporary. The
But it's
record
like,
goes away.
to get to 5 or 6-0 to get to the UFC, it's like I don't need tough fights, nor do I really want them, because I'm not even getting paid much.
exactly.
Now, if you want to drop 3 to 5 bands on me for this fight, give me the wolf.
I'm telling you right now, we're looking at a high level P&L, because I'm thinking about doing something. $3,000 to $5,000 on one fighter. That's never going to happen. I can tell you this right now.
As far as what?
If I were to do a promotion, hypothetically speaking, from what I've seen in terms of like what this is going to cost, to do $3,000 or $5,000 on one fighter, you have to have a whole lot of other things going your way.
Well, I've seen it.
Then they have sponsors and they have a lot of things going on. But then I would also say,
They got sponsors, and then that fighter sold a lot of tickets.
if they sell tickets, it's completely different.
Right.
Because I would make the argument, I'll give you an example. My last fight for Shamrock, when I fought, there was a certain amount that I was getting paid, and I was getting paid really good fucking money. However, I sold like over 200 tickets
Dang.
I paid for myself. You know what I mean?
That's a lot of tickets.
So like, dude, it was, by the way, anecdotal, it was the most I've ever sold. So like, it's not like I was selling 200 tickets every fight.
Right.
Every time I would fight, I would win. I'd sell a little bit more, and there was like at the peak of my hype. Right. So like, by no means, like when I was an amateur, dude, if I sold 30, I was like, dang, well, that was a big
That's a
fucking, you know
big
what I mean?
deal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I say that because sometimes people will hear that and be like, 200 tickets, is that the norm? No, that is, you are the exception. If you sell 50 tickets as a pro or an amateur, that's a big ticket seller.
On a local show, 100%.
Yeah, that's a big ticket seller. Because let's say for the average pro, I might be off by like a couple hundred here, but like ballpark, I think the average pros now get like around 300 or 400 to show and win, right? So if you're like pro debut,
Where?
is it not the case? Are they
My last 3 fights. Okay, so my last fight, they offered me 6 and 6.
600 and 600?
Okay, the fight before that, I got offered 1,000 and 500.
Flat?
1,000 to show up and fight,
Sorry,
and then
and
another 500 to
for
win, which I
Okay.
won, so 1,500. And then the fight before that, I got $1,000 flat.
Here's the difference though. Did you travel for those fights?
Yes.
The difference is scarcity and the market working, supply and demand. You were in higher demand. For me, we had the local promotion, Shamrock. Like the majority of the guys, if they wanted to fight, I could easily find them. So like if I'm not necessarily of high demand, there's a lot of supply, the market will react. I think you're the exception, not the rule, if I'm going to be completely honest. And that's because you're willing to travel, right? You're willing to be the B side because surely you understand they're bringing you in to lose.
Sure.
Whether or not that happens,
If that's what they think.
exactly.
Sure.
But let's call a spade a spade. If the local
I mean,
guy,
they say that they're not bringing me into. They say
They
they
are.
don't care who's going to win.
well, there might be truth to that as well. If the guy that you're fighting is not a ticket seller, I'll give you a prime example. Dustin Lampros sells, I think, like 150 to 200 tickets a show.
Oh, I would
Do you
love to
think-
fight him.
But do you think Shamrock, when they match him, are wanting him to lose?
Put him against me. Surely he'll beat me.
I think it's a tough
Guy's
fight.
a beast.
Well, he's fighting on the July one, but
Fighting some motherfucking bum. Dude.
what's his name?
I don't know, but I would whoop that dude's ass.
Well,
They don't want to give me. They're not gonna give me that fight. They already know.
well, this is what I'm trying to say. It's not about Dustin. It's not about Shamrock. You could replace the promotion. Or you could replace the fighter. If it's a high ticket seller, insert whatever promotion you want. And a lot of times, the promotions are also tied to gyms. So it's like usually it's like their guys versus everybody
Yeah.
else. Which, by the way, I'm not saying is right or wrong. I'm saying this is how it is. What I'm saying to you is you probably make more because you're willing to take that risk, and risk should be rewarded, and supply and demand are a constant. So yes, I think you make more than the average person, but I also would acknowledge that like you're not the average person. So for the average
not.
fighter, I think 3 and 3, 4 and 4, even 5 and 5 is like normal, and that's also with them selling tickets. So usually they're recouping their own cost. What they're really saying is, I'm going to pay you this because you're a pro. You should make something legally, but you better sell enough tickets to also constitute me paying you and paying your opponent. So I'm gonna have to drive him in. I'm gonna have to fly him in. I'm gonna have to house him, feed him, X, Y, and Z.
I'm
That's all
supposed to be
expense.
fighting in October in Hutchinson, Kansas, and they offered me an amount, and I was like, bro, that's a 9-hour drive.
They're not willing to fly you.
They didn't say nothing about flying, nothing.
Anything above a 3-hour drive, I'd be like, I'm flying.
Well,
By the way,
I
it might be
asked them
cheaper.
for 1,000 and 1,000.
Okay.
So
And flight, and hotel.
I didn't ask for and flight. I was going to use that money to pay for the flight,
Okay.
which would probably be like what, $200 to $300, something
Yeah,
like
but
that.
but why take that out of your own purse? You want me to fight? Pay me to fly out there.
Because the guy's a bum. So
Okay, then pay me to fly out there.
this is my thing. Look, if you want me to fight a really good fighter, another beast like myself, then pay me. But if you're gonna give me some bum, hey, $1,000, easy money.
Surely you understand the rub, though. You're
Yes.
not wrong. You're not wrong. Like, I should. But what if the financials aren't there for it, for the promotion? The issue is there are two variables here. And similarly, earlier in this conversation, when I said like two things can be right at the same time, this is how I feel about this. Like, the fighter is not incorrect in saying like, hey, you want me to fight this killer? You want me to fight this other guy? Like, who the propensity for the risks are so much greater than someone else
Right.
that a loss at the wrong time in your career could set you back years, right?
Right.
So it's like, you're going to have to compensate me for that. However, and they're not wrong for that, Then you think about the financials from the perspective of the business, the promotion or whatever, and they might want to pay you. Maybe they just don't have the money and they're just trying to make the fight that could get one person to the next show. Because remember, there's two parties to this. There's you and then there's your opponent. And if you're a killer and he's a killer, then maybe the winner of this fight does get signed. You know what I mean? And then from the promotion's perspective, they're just trying to create the fight that could possibly get one of you at this moment in time to the next level. That's a win. The reason I'm saying this is because we're flirting around with creating our own promotion here in St. Louis. And the number one thing that we're trying to do is like, I want to create the promotion that I wish I would have had. But now I take my fighter hat off and I'm putting my promoter hat on and I'm realizing that the perspective shift is so real. My thing is like, you know, what should I do? Should I build a guy from scratch and get him to the UFC? Because I could probably do that. You know what I mean? Or should I take what's existing and see which ones deserve it, which ones are close to it? How can I kind of move the chessboard to get the most amount of people
be a lot easier
to that next level? But here's the problem. Let's say you're one of the people I pick. Then you're like, this promotion's the best. They pay me what I want to get paid. They got me to the next level, whatever. But then how many people have to lose to you to get you to that position that then say, that promotion fucking sucks. They brought me in to lose, yada, yada, yada. The thing I'm trying to say is now on this end, I'm realizing that to make an omelet, you're going to have to crack a few eggs. And that's unfortunately just the case.
And that's the thing. Look, that's the thing about this fight game. You have guys that are willing to get in there with someone that they probably won't beat to get to collect a small paycheck because they know they're not about to make it to the UFC. They're not going to make it to the big promotion. So don't be trying to feed me these young 25-year-old dogs when there's some 33-year-old that's like probably like what 7-10, like, and he's gonna get in there and have a good time. He's gonna have fun because he enjoys fighting, and he's gonna make what $1,000 or so. Like that's a good weekend for him. Matter of fact, instead of giving me $1,000, you can give me $600. Give him $400 of that. Give it to him. Pay me less. Pay him more to come in here and lose to me.
Willie, that's common.
Come on now.
That's common.
Make it make sense.
I know fighters that don't receive a single dollar in purse, or I think legally they have to at least get like $100.
There you go.
So like their thing is like 100 and 100. And they'll make a bunch of money on like the ticket sales or whatever, and then the money goes to their opponent just so that they can get a fight.
Because the thing
is this is why I say that MMA isn't turning into boxing. This is what people don't understand. It is also boxing. This is what boxers do.
It's not just about the win and the loss. It's about damage. If I have to fight 6 mediocre fighters, I can get in there, probably finish them, and not take minimal damage. Now I'm 6-0. Now imagine if I fight 3 mediocre fighters and then 3 beasts. Them 3 beasts are going to put up a hell of a fight, and now I'm coming away with all these other little nicks and bruises, and it just makes your career shorter. It makes it harder to get ready for the next fight. Like me, I like to fight damn near every month, okay? We're still in June. I've already fought 4 times. That's because I'm getting in there, I'm fighting guys that aren't as good as me, and I can have my way with them. I can piece them up, move around, do my thing.
It's also the variables. You're willing to fight kickboxing, Muay Thai, and MMA.
Well, yeah, that
so like that also helps. Because
like
if you're
my last
only
fight,
doing
okay,
MMA, then
I pieced him up the first round. Then that low blow happened the second round, dude. Both of my thumbs are swollen right now from that, from a couple punches I landed, like, and you know it's gonna take a little bit of time. So it's just you get these little nicks and bruises add up. So that's why it's also important when you start your pro career to try to find the path of least resistance. It ain't that I don't want to fight tough fighters. I enjoy a tough fight. And later on, when I'm an old man and I look back at my fights, I'm not going to be watching the ones that I fought the easy. I'm going to be watching the
wars.
Me whooping the guy that's also a beast. But for right now, starting my pro career, no. Give me the little C-level guy. Don't give me the young freaking lion. Give me the old bull, not the young calf.
So then let me ask you this. When I was a fighter, and I acknowledge that this was a mistake now, in hindsight, being 2020, my mentality was that old school method of like, I'll be the biggest fish in the small pond, then I'll move on. Until I fought the biggest fish, and then he moved on, and he got signed to the UFC.
Yeah.
Fair. And people then, you know, I've had conversations galore, because it's been 2 years. So like, people will say like, well, dude, you lost to one guy who's like a beast. Like, you could easily still make it. Yeah, but my goal wasn't the UFC. My goal was to be the best in the world. And I'll never beat that guy. So there goes me, right? But it was interesting to hear perspective of other people. It was as if their goal was like solely to pursue this to get to the UFC to make money. And then it goes back to the other thing I was saying of like, I don't know if there's necessarily a lot of money, even low level at the UFC. But I'll tell you where there's no money. I'll tell you where there's no money. Professional fighting outside of the UFC. You know what I mean? And
Dude,
that's a microcosm of a lot of factors.
If you get into UFC, all right, 12-12. Okay.
That's way better than you're going to get from any local promotion.
12-12.
Triple, maybe.
If you fight at least 3 times a year, now you're sitting at what?
It'd be 10 and 10, 20,
72,000?
24, so 40, 44, and then 14 and 14, which would be 28. Oh, yeah, around 76,000. Or actually, around 70, 75,000.
75,000. Okay, that's before taxes and pay your manager.
That's gross, not net.
So you're gonna walk away with probably what?
30,
40,
30,
30
after taxes. After paying everybody
all right, so
out.
30.
You got your management.
30.
You got your coaches. If you're doing it the right way, I've heard of fighters not paying people.
All right, let's say 30 to 40. Okay, let's just say 35. Let's meet in the middle. 35.
Okay.
35,000. That's just your fight purse. That's not brand deals, sponsorships.
You're not getting shit at that level, though.
Bullshit.
How much are you getting now?
Okay, I got 5 sponsors. I'm glad you asked. I need to shout out to my sponsors, okay? Right now, I got 5 sponsors. Duke Concrete Finishing.
Shout out Duke.
Shout out to Duke Concrete Finishing.
Keeping
and
the
Duke
dream alive.
Excavation Services. If you need any type of construction work done and you're in the Southeast Missouri area, hit up Duke Concrete Finishing, okay? And then Marcus Smith Bail Bonds. If you find yourself in a jam, I done been there. If I get locked up, the first person I'm calling, I'm gonna tell the CEO, hey, call Marcus Smith, please. Smith Bail Bonds, okay? Golden Eagle Tattoo. If you need any type of tattoo work done, any piercings, and you're in the Cape Girardeau area, go to Golden Eagle Tattoo. They do phenomenal work. You walk in there, they got like 1 trillion different tattoos all over, like even on the ceiling. So they got like different, like the stencils everywhere. So Golden Eagle Tattoo. And then if you need any type of hair work done, like your dreadlocks retwisted or started, anything that has to do with the salon, go to VIP Lock Studio in Cape Girardeau. And if you look at her Facebook page, like, dude, when she does hair, it's crazy. It looks like it's drawn on. It's phenomenal. So those are my 5 sponsors. Okay. So between them, so the way I do my sponsorship is to get on my banner and for me to pitch you on all my like social media posts. Is just $250 for 2 months. Okay. And then to get on my shorts, it's $500 every 2 months. So right now with those 5,
if you're on the shorts, do you automatically get put on the banner?
Yeah, you're on the banner
separate?
also. Yeah,
okay,
100%. Okay. So with those 5, that's $2,250 every 2 months. And I'm just starting. Like if I was in the UFC, then sponsors would have to pay me a little bit more. So what I'm saying is, the thing is
yes and no, because then you're not. They can't. They also restrict you. You don't have a banner.
They don't restrict your social media accounts. They don't restrict
your.
Media,
but then the nature of that conversation changes, because then they're not on your shorts.
It does.
They're not in the banner.
But that don't matter because everything now is
you.
all. Well, dude, everything is all about marketing on social media.
Agreed.
Literally.
Agreed.
So I mean. So that's that. What I'm saying is, when you make it to the UFC, if you have a brain in between your ears instead of just trauma from getting punched, you should be able to make plenty enough money to pay all your bills and have even a little bit more. Like it's not.
I agree.
It's not hard.
I agree.
And then on top of that, okay, so
but
those
I
are
think
2 different ways. And then also,
think that way.
What else do we have? Merch. If you're in the UFC, you should be able to sell some merch.
I don't know how that works because of the Venom deal. I don't know. That's
You're
the thing.
on your own platforms.
But that's the thing.
The UFC does not restrict their fighters from making money outside the UFC. But you just can't be wearing that stuff like necessarily to their
on
press
their fight
conference
camp and things like that. Yeah.
Right, but on your own platforms, people are gonna follow you. People are gonna want to hear about your story. They're gonna watch your YouTube channel, your page. They're gonna pay $10 a month for your Patreon account, whatever it is you have. So you should be able to make plenty of money, like through fighting if you're in the UFC.
I know that when I was done with fighting, I made about $10,000 from my last fight. Okay. But the majority of that was sponsorship, like Instagram pushing and stuff like that, meeting up at certain places to do events and things like that. Because that was another thing. Like, you can go places and like if they have like an event or some sort of grand opening for a store, you can be a part of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I remember thinking to myself, like, man, 10 grand's a lot of money. But then I thought to myself, it took me 10 years to get to that point to make 10 grand.
Yeah.
So it's like if you were to take the amount of hours that it took me to get to that point, it's pennies, right? Not to say that I wasn't grateful for it. And shout out to those sponsors. At that time, that was like what pushed me over the edge of being able to do camps.
Yeah.
I just think that the nature of sponsorship, I'll tell you right now, because I'm on the other end of that. If I had fighters that could acknowledge some of the things that you're talking about and were in my area and like understood a lot of these things, perhaps I'd sponsor more. But I'm telling you right now, it feels like a charity most of the time. The second that money goes out, because I've sponsored some fighters, some of the fighters, I do it because I like them.
Right.
100%, I know that I'm not going to get a return on that investment.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like, hey, I like you. Here you go. This is not something I'm looking to do with like all these other fighters. And the problem with that is it opened up the floodgates. I sponsored a few fighters, so that other fighters like, oh, you want to sponsor me? You want to sponsor me? Now I've had to have like multiple hard discussions of being like, you are literally like, you just quoted me $250, not you, this individual,
Right.
$250 as an amateur. And I was like, you're out of your mind.
Right.
You're out of your mind. No offense. Like, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but like when I was an amateur, I didn't get my first sponsor till like my 10th fight. This guy was 2-0.
Right. And that's the thing. The question is, are you good marketing for this company? Like me personally, dude, every time I make I don't really make Facebook or Instagram posts about anything other than fighting. It's all training pictures, fight pictures, all fight related.
You have a certain demographic.
Okay, and then I always tag my sponsors, so their name is getting seen a lot by all the local people in Cape Girardeau. Like,
have you ever thought about doing like a collaboration with them, like some sort of like the tattoo company, for instance, hiring like a camera guy to come in and record you going in, like kind of do like a commercial? Has that ever been like something that you thought about?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Because I'll tell you right now, and this is like a shout out to like everybody, like I never want to discourage anybody from trying to like make money, incorporate themselves in any which way. But what I'm trying to tell fighters now is, because I'm on the other end of it, I'm the businessman, I'm looking with the marketing budget. You have to offer me value. And if someone came up to me and instead of saying like shorts and banner, because that's everybody, if they had just some extra X factor, hey, we're going to record something and that'll be like on my wall, a pinned thing on my Instagram. Okay, that's different from everybody else. Or like you were saying, like every post I'm going to do will at you or hashtag you. Okay, that's good. And then if you're because here's the other thing, if you have volume on your social media, don't tell me you're going to do one post and you do two posts a month. Like I hate to say it this way, but like you have to kind of be up with that. You know what I mean? There are certain things that I'm looking for now as a business owner whenever I'm looking to possibly sponsor someone. And the number one thing is not even about making the money back. It's about, are you going to respect this? Are you going to put forth effort on this?
Right.
Even if it's not a whole lot of effort to you, make me think it is, brother. Like lie to me. Fucking lie to me. So there's a lot of fighters that think that, I'll show you some of my inbox, but like every month, 5 or 6.
Really?
Then they're all saying the same thing. Shorts banner, shorts banner, shorts banner. I don't give a fuck about your shorts or your banner. What I care about is what you were saying earlier, social media presence. What I care about is like, what extra could you do? Could you record something and post that and maybe pin it to your wall? Could you, if I had like a brick and mortar store like that tattoo company, come in and record something, be like, hey, you don't even have to get a tattoo. Just come in like, my boy is out here. That's value. That's value. That's all I'm saying is like, if you're a fighter, you got to take into perspective or into position that business. And when you're asking for $1, are you bringing in more money than that $1?
Right.
If you're not, that's fine. But then what value add are you giving? Do you have a relationship?
Do you try to actually get people to go there? Like, if I'm at the store and I'm talking to someone,
are you putting forward
like
effort?
if I'm scrolling through Facebook and someone's like, I want to get a tattoo, I'll go and like I'll be like, oh, you need to go to Golden Eagle Tattoo.
Exactly.
You know,
brother, I sponsored a guy and I told him, I was like, hey, just make a couple posts and all this other stuff. literally made one post, and it was like a story. And
Yeah.
I was like, I already
The
Venmo'd
story that's
him.
gonna disappear.
Yeah.
See, and that's another thing I do with my sponsors when I'm scrolling. Like, I'll share their posts on my story all the time. Like, I'll try every day when I'm scrolling through
collaborate
Facebook. I'll
with
see,
them. Yeah.
like when they're doing tattoos, boom, I post that. When Kenita does the different hairstyles, I'll post that. Duke Concrete Finishing, I'm sharing his stuff. So
I'll tell you one thing too is like fighters that don't do that then scorn you. And here's a variable that most fighters don't understand is like whether or not you have a good or bad experience with a business or a sponsor or whatever, that is then going to affect the next fighter. So I'll tell you what I did. I sponsored some guys that I liked, that I was friends with, and then when I didn't get what I wanted out of that, like it wasn't even in a sense of like, it wasn't that I was looking for something, okay? It was more of like the effort of like, you guys needed money, I gave you money, shout my shit out.
right,
I don't want to have to tell you. I don't want to have to come back and text you. When they didn't do it, you know what I said? I went to my wife, I go, he's not doing anything on this or that.
like,
and then my wife was like, well, why don't you tell them?
As
And I
soon
was
as you
like, I
put
don't
money in
want
that
to.
fighter's pocket, it's his job to try to attach your business to any success that he has and all the hard work that he's doing.
If they were smart, they would not look at it as an individual thing. They would look at it as a partnership going forward.
Look,
Because if they went above and beyond, I'll tell you what I would have done. The next time, I would have done it again and maybe give them a little bit more. Hey, I gave you $250 this time. I'm going to give you $300 this time. I appreciate what you did before. And this is the thing about sponsorships and like athletes that I don't think they understand. Sponsorships should never feel like a charity.
right.
If they feel like a charity for you, the fighter, imagine how they feel for me. And if they feel for me like a charity, you're never going to have me again. They should feel mutually beneficial. And like all relationships, they're never 50-50. Okay? Some days it's 40-60, some days it's 80-20. And I'm willing to work with you. Like, let's say I sponsor you and I gave you $500, right? And then you get hurt from a fight. That has nothing to do with you. There's variables in this equation that are outside you and I. But let's say, like, even though you're hurt, you're like, I'm so sorry to my sponsors, and you're pushing my stuff and you're sharing my stories and all this other stuff. When you have another fight, I'm still there because you still showed me effort. You still showed me appreciation and all these other things. But brother, believe me when I tell you, that is a minority.
And then the thing is this, also, if you want sponsors, you can't be going out there losing.
That's fair.
Especially back to back. Now you lose one, cool. Look, we lose fights sometimes. But you go out there losing back to back, like, bro, I fought 4 times this year. I won all 4 of them. Like, I'm going out there beating the crap out of people. Like, you gotta.
Your performance matters.
Your performance matters inside and outside the cage. Like, it matters. So look, my last fight, right? I'm backstage. They're about to call me out. As they're calling my name, I looked at my corner. I said, where the fuck is my banner at? It's all the way in the back. It's way, dude, you got to run all the way across the building, go all the way down to the basement, back up. I'm like, where is my banner? I shouldn't even have to be telling y'all got one job. You got one job. Make sure I got my mouthpiece, water, ice, and banner. Like, dude, why do I have to keep track of all this stuff? When I have people filming for me, I have to like do dumb shit like hold it like they'll be holding the camera all crooked out, like have to straighten it out and shit. Like this all these, my mind is on all these things. But I made my instructor run down. He ran to get my banner, and I had to wait to walk out for him to come back up. That's how important it was for me. And then even when I got in the cage, that was announcing my name. They didn't even bring the banner in there.
Jesus. I'm
like, dude, this is like I'm dealing with some
rough.
Fucking rookies, man. But luckily,
they'll learn.
on my weigh-in day, like I got really good pictures of me holding my fight banner and stuff. But yeah, I do my best to like really promote the people that are sponsoring me. Yep. Like it means more to me than they probably will ever know. Like it really does. Like it's crazy. Having sponsors is a difference between me having my bills paid and not. Like literally.
I'll go a step further. For promotion, having a sponsor is the difference between paying you the $3,000 and $4,000 that you want to get paid and not. Right now, with the P&L that we're drafting, I mean, it's you have one of two ways to make money. Either you make tickets really expensive so that you can make up that delta and then pay the fighters, pay the state, pay everybody, or you have people incorporate their businesses with yours. And I think the way to do this properly as a promotion is not B2C, business to consumer. I think it's B2B because corporations, businesses have more money. I have more money now than I ever did as an individual in terms of spending power. and it's directly correlated to my businesses. So like, if that's the case for me, that's the case for the majority of people.
Right.
And then I also know that marketing does matter. So like I am looking for these things, especially, so like my product is like, I have a trucking company, I got this podcast, I got some other things in the work, like consulting and stuff like that. Outside of the trucking company, everything's digital. So like proximity doesn't really matter to me, right? A lot of other things matter to me. But let's say you're a tattoo company and you only have one fucking shop. Sponsoring the local fighter or being a part of the local show or doing like the local newspaper ad or whatever, that matters more in terms of proximity, logistics, reality.
Right.
These are just like variables. And I'm not trying to sound too preachy, but it was one of the things that I understood as a fighter was like mutually beneficial business that I still only now extrapolate even harder. And the piece of advice I would give all fighters is sponsorship should be an opportunity to build a relationship. And if you're not looking at that as a relationship over the course of time, you being a purveyor of their product or service the same way they are a purveyor of your craft, if you don't look at it as mutual respect, you're not getting this. You don't get it.
Right.
If it ever feels like a charity, if it ever feels like any of these things, guess what? It's temporary.
Hey, you
It's
see that Justin Bieber video the other day? He said when he was talking to that paparazzi, he's like, "It's not clocking to you. I'm standing on business."
Yeah.
Since something's not clocking to you.
Yeah. You'd be surprised, brother. And that's the thing is like I was once a fighter, so I want these guys to succeed. I want them to get paid. But if you guys don't understand the business acumen of it,
if you want charity, you better talk to your family members.
Exactly.
If you want a sponsorship, then you need to. It's literally just your job to promote that business. Go out there, make sure.
Not only, it's also fighting.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're promoting it with the fighting. Like, so you got to make sure that you're promoting them on fight day 100%, and then outside of that too, which like you just gotta. All it is just making good posts and representing their business.
That's why I would also say that if you're a fighter, don't just take anybody's dollar. I know that's probably hard to say, but if you don't have a relationship with people, if you don't have an affinity for the product, I've had people offer to sponsor the podcast. And the reason I haven't is because I'm like, I don't know anything about your thing. If I'm going to sit there and be like, Arion Zekti says do this, like I want to at least know the product or something like that.
Right.
So it's like we've turned down 2 things now, and it feels
Send
kind of
them to
weird.
me.
Yeah. We'll talk off the record.
Send them to me.
Talk off the record if they're interested. But it was on the basis of that. I felt like I don't think I could return to you the investment you're thinking, and then it'll feel like a charity, and then I don't want to feel like a charity. I want something to be mutually beneficial. If you give me $500, I want to make sure that you make at least 501, because then that's sustainable.
Right.
Then I have you for a long period of time, and it's not like, okay, we had this person this month, we don't have them next month, let's see what else person we could have, because then over the course of time, you're just burning bridges left and right.
Right.
Before we put a cap on this perspective or this topic of like fighter pay, making money, marketing, is there anything else you want to say on the topic?
Well, I just want to say, at the end of the day, I'm trying to get paid for fighting by any means necessary. So I'm willing to put my life on the line for this type of lifestyle. And I just really hope that my fans and the other promotions and my sponsors understand like I'm fully invested in this. I'm not half-assing any of this. I'm getting in that cage and I'm prepared to die. So anyone that invests in me, whether it be them liking my video, sponsoring me, getting me a fight on their show, I appreciate it more than anything else in my life right now. Like, this truly means everything to me, being able to go out there and fight and make some money and get my bills paid. So I just really want everyone to understand that a lot of people sometimes might think like I'm just maybe just coming out here putting on some show for clout or something like that. No, I truly love this. Like, everything about it. Training, being sore all the time, taking ice baths, getting myself mentally prepared for these wars inside the cage. Like, I truly love being a martial artist. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you making the drive. It was an absolute riot to have you. I would like to, after this, if you're gonna have the volume that you're talking about, a couple of months off from this, I mean, we might be having you back on, having a completely different conversation. You know what I mean?
Hopefully
I think it's
so.
entirely possible.
Hopefully next time I come on, we're talking about how I'm making my UFC debut.
I hope.
For real.
Seriously, God bless. I hope. Willie, I appreciate you coming on, brother.
Awesome.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Seriously.
Thank you.